Namaskar. Welcome to this second session of the first Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Geeta. We start with our gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved and transmitted for generations. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. We start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the first Adhyaya is the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, where Arjuna gets grief, sorrow, sadness by seeing his relatives in the opponent army. And it's a very important Adhyaya because it forms the background. The stage is set for the message of the Lord to come. And this cannot be neglected, primarily because it shows us the psychology of both the sides. And each person also, Duryodhana, Arjuna, how they are different in their understanding, in their what is going on in their mind. By their words, we can make out. Because Mahabharata battle is not just a battle on the Kurukshetra battlefield, but it is a battle which is going on in the minds of all of us. And this battle is between the dharma, the Daivi Sampatti, the good values, the moral values, and Asuri Sampatti, our mind, which is very chanchala. It wants to do a lot of things. It has a lot of desires, a lot of, it keeps thinking, seeking, wanting a lot of things. So this tug of war constantly goes on. And who is the candidate for such a kind of a message of the Lord? A person like Arjun, who is undecided, who is confused, who has a struggle in his life. And we all have our own struggles in our life. Sometimes we get confusion, sometimes we become sad, we get upset, we get angry, we desire so many things. If we don't get it, we become very, very annoyed. And these are the things, even small things like, while driving, some problems happen, somebody doesn't drive in a big way, we get upset. So all these things make us upset. And Arjuna's attachment is considered to be the root cause of bondage. We need to understand, as we have seen it the last time, attachment is quite affinity to our near dear ones is quite normal, but intense attachment which colors our vision, which creates a kind of a wheel, which does not allow us to see the reality, what is called as a moha, the delusion. It completely changes our vision, and that is the intense attachment. And this is because of, our scriptures tell us that this is because of raga, dvesha. Raga means attachment, intense attachment. Dvesha means, we something that is not, we don't like it, so we don't want it to be with us, and that is dvesha. So this raga, dvesha are the two things which are the main causes of the bondage. And the best is that this Adhyaya, this message allows me to understand my mind, where I need to improve, what are the kind of values that I carry, what are the things that I have, and this understanding helps me to change my life for better. So summarizing the first Adhyaya, the first shloka starts with Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra starts speaking, Ya Sanjay, that on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, the righteous battle, what are Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, Kimakurvata? My sons and Pandu's sons, what are they doing? He asks this to Sanjay, who is trying to relay whatever is happening on the Kurukshetra battlefield, because he has divine eyesight which was given to him, that the divine chakshus, what is called as the Divya Chakshu, which was given to him by Sri Veda Vyasa. And with this, he is relaying to Dhritarashtra what is happening on the Kurukshetra battlefield. Duryodhana comes in the beginning, comes to Acharya Drona and starts describing the armies of the Pandavas first. He shows a lot of warriors of the Pandava army, and then shows many warriors of the Kaurava army also, and finally sums up saying that our army is unlimited, aparyaptam, which is guarded by Bhishma, and their army, the Pandava army, which is guarded by Bhima, is limited, showing his overconfidence, showing his fear. Bhima is something that he always fears, showing his ignorance, showing his ego, his pride. And all these are the vices that Duryodhana had because he represents the Asuri Sampatti. And then from the 12th shloka onwards, the war begins by blowing off all the conches, the shankha, and this shankha, and then a lot of drums, beating of drums that signifies the beginning of the war. A loud, threatening noise is created. Initially, Bhishma Pitama starts by his blowing his own conch, followed by Pandavas, where Krishna blows the first conch, his Panchajanya conch, and then Arjuna blows his Devadatta conch, and then all the Pandavas, Ananta Vijaya conch by Yudhishthira and all them, and the Kauravas also blow their conches, and then finally, now the stage is set for the war to begin. So war is already technically begun because the conches are blown. And now from the 20th verse, Arjuna wants to observe the Kaurava army before he starts the war, and he picks up his Gandiv. And then once he sees the opponent army, he becomes very upset. He gets attachment, he becomes sad, he becomes sorrowful, he has grief. This leads to despair. And then finally, he sits down in the back of the chariot. So let us start with the 20th shloka. Arjuna is getting ready for the war. Atha vyavasthitan drashtva dhatra rashtran kapidvajah pravrutte shastra sampate dhanurudhyamya bhandava. Atha. Now the topic is changed because so far the conches were blown, the war was going to start. Now the pious moment is about to come. There is a change of topic. Kapidvaja is the name of Arjuna because on his chariot's flag sits Hanuman. And it is said that Hanuman, sitting on that flag, he saw the entire Mahabharata Yuddha. He very intently listened to the Bhagavad Gita. He would roar when Bhima would roar to give him the voice because he had vowed and given a promise to Bhima that I'll be with you when you play this Mahabharata battle. And then he would open his eyes only when, because Hanuman has very large eyes, he would open his eyes only when Bhishma was fighting because he was a fierce warrior. And then he would close his eyes otherwise. And he was there for the entire 18 days of the Mahabharata battle. And finally, when he was asked, how did you find the battle, Mahabharata Yuddha? He says, oh, this was nothing. This was like child's play, he says. He says the Ramayana Yuddha between the Ram and Ravana, which was much more fierce because the people at that time in the other Yuga were always, they're very giant in their form. The Shastras, Astras, the weapons were also of a much more powerful variety. And he says that was, much fierce Yuddha. Mahabharata Yuddha was like a child's play. Hanuman says this is a vision of Hanuman. And for properly seeing all the sons of Dhritarashtra, Arjuna, who is called Kapidvaja, Vyavasthitan Drashtva Dhatra Rashtran, he picks up all his ammunitions, bow, arrow. Well, the war is about to begin. He deploys all his, weapons, and he lifts up his Gandiv. Gandiv is the Dhanusha, the bow of Arjuna, which is considered to be one of the best bows because this bow was for almost 1,000 years. It was with the Devas, and the Devas always used to worship this Gandiv. And finally, it was Indra who gifted this Gandiv to the Arjuna. And this was a Gandiv which Arjuna at the Draupadi Swayamvara, he just Tankar he made, and that is the Gandiv. Rishi Kesham tada vakyam midamaha mahipate Arjuna uvacha senayorubhayor madhye ratham stapaya mechyuta. So Arjuna, Sanjay is addressing King Dhritarashtra, O king of this world, O Mahipate, he says, Arjuna is now saying these words to Lord Krishna. So Arjuna says, O Krishna, take my chariot to the center of both the armies and be steady there. Stapaya, Ratha Stapaya, Ubhayo Senayo Madhye. I want to see both the opponents as well as our own army. He says, mainly I want to see the opponents, what they are. Yavadetan niriksheham yodhukaman avasthitan kairmayaya hasyodhavyam asmin rana samudhyame. He says, I want to, till I see all those, you please park there, my chariot, my divine chariot, and be steady there till I see all those who have gathered to fight this battle and with whom I have to fight in this battlefield. Asmin Rama Samudhyame. I want to see all my opponents, all my opposite warriors with whom I want to fight. Yotsyamana viksheham ya etatra samagataha Dhatra rashtrasya durbuddhe yuddhe priyachikir shivaha. He says, I want to see all those who have gathered here for this battle and who are the well-wishers of the sons of Dhritarashtra, the Kauravas, and who are Durbuddhe. All these Kauravas, according to Arjuna, are Durbuddhi. Their thinking is distorted, their intellect is not proper, they are on the side of Adharma. Arjuna so far thinks that we demonstrate the dharma, we are doing the righteous battle because we have been given an injustice. Whenever there is a battle, both the sides always feel that we have been done an injustice and that's why we are fighting. Here Arjuna is depicting that he thinks that the Dhritarashtra's sons, all the Kauravas, have done some gross blunder in understanding and coming for this Yuddha. And then Sanjaya says that Krishna is now takes the chariot to the center of the battlefield. Sanjaya uvacha eva mukto rishikesho gudakeshena bharata senayorubhayor madhye sthapayitva rathottamam. Sanjaya speaks that, oh Bharat, hey Dhritarashtra, is talking to Dhritarashtra and relaying whatever is happening on the Mahabharata battlefield. He says, as told by Arjuna, another name of Arjuna is called Gudakesha. And Gudakesha means somebody, also means curly hair, but the main meaning is one who has conquered sleep, because Arjuna is very alert, always awake, always mindful, always aware. And Rishikesha, he says, Shree Krishna parks the divine chariot in the center of both the armies. And this is as Arjuna has told Shri Krishna, because Arjuna is the Rathi and Shri Krishna is a Sarathi, so he can order Shri Krishna to take the Rath. Of course, Shri Krishna is Bhagavan himself, Swayam, but at this point he is the Sarathi, the charioteer, and that's why he takes and parks the chariot at the battlefield, in the center of the battlefield, as was told to him by Arjuna. Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyetan Samavetan Kuru Niti. And Krishna asks Arjuna to see all the Kauravas. He says, Iti Uvacha. Krishna says, oh Arjun, he says, Bhima Drona Pramukhata. All these army, Kaurava army is led by Bhishma, Drona and all the kings, he says. And all those who have come along with them, which is led by Bhishma and Drona. You see all these Kurun Pashya. Bhagavan says, see all the Kurus. These are the first words of Lord Krishna in the Mahabharata, but here it is not that Bhagavana Vacha, it's Sanjay is relaying to Dhritarashtra. That is how they are said. And Bhagavan will start speaking from the second shloka of the second Adhyaya. So Kurun Pashya, Bhagavan says, see all the Kurus. And with these words of Krishna, the entire game changes. Arjuna, who had come with so much of overconfidence, with inflated, wanted to fight this Dharma Yuddha, he feels that all the other Kauravas are Durbuddhi. He suddenly, all his, there is this balloon, his balloon is punctured by just a pin prick. It is like, and Bhagavan tells him, Kurun Pashya. Bhagavan does not tell him that see all the opposition warriors or see all the Yodha or the warriors. He says, see all the Kauravas, Arjuna, in the opposite army, and that is what he was probably waiting for. Tatra pashyastitan partha vidrunatha pitamahan acharyan matulan bhratrun putran pautran sakhins tatha. So Arjun is now seeing all the relatives, his own relatives in the opponent army. He is not seeing the warriors. He is not seeing the main warriors. He just sees Arjuna. He sees the uncle Pitrun, Pitamahan, the great grandfather Bhishma. He sees all his gurus, Dronacharya, Krupacharya. He sees all his maternal uncles. He sees his brothers, sons, and grandsons, and all his sakhin, all his friends in the opposite army. Swashuran surudaschaiva senayorubhayorapi tan samiksha sakaunteya sarvan bandhun bhavastitan. And Arjun again is seeing all his, instead of seeing the warriors, he's seeing all his own kith and kins in the opposite camp. He's seeing his father-in-law, his friends, he's standing in front of him in both armies. And Arjuna sees all his relatives who are present there for war. And with this, his entire vision now is changing because of this raga drashti, because of his intense attachment to his own near and dear ones. His intellect it is not able to do what is the right thing to do, what is the adharma, what is the wrong thing to do. That viveka, that discriminative capacity that God has given us is lost with this kind of a raga drashti, with this attachment. And with this, Arjuna develops attachment, mamata, delusion, moha. Krapaya paraya vishto vishidannamidam praveet. Arjuna uvacha drashtve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupasthitam. So paraya krupaya avishtaha. Arjuna is filled with a lot of deep compassion. Krupa. Krupa means compassion. But paraya krupa, very high level of compassion. Avishtaha means this has come out of this avesh, this emotional storm that he has undergone, which has been there because of this attachment. And this is not the right kind of compassion. This is not the ideal compassion which comes out of an emotional storm. And then Vishidanna idam pravit, filled with a lot of despair, sorrow, grief. He says these words, Arjuna uvacha, he says, O Krishna, having seen all my swajanam, my relatives, who have gathered here for war, yuyutsam samupastitam, he is now describing what is happening to him. He's describing his condition in the next two shlokas. Very clearly, he's describing Arjuna. He says, Sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati vepathuscha sharire me romaharshascha jayate. He says, my limbs are becoming very weak. Sidanti mama gatrani. He says, mukham parichushyasi. My mouth is becoming very dry. Sharire vepathu. My body is trembling. I'm not able to stand still. He says, Charoma harshascha jayate. And I'm having goosebumps. My hairs are standing on their ends. And this is a very, this happens when there is some level of distress in our mind anytime, or there is some stress of any time. This is a stress response of the body that, hatpag, our hands and feet become very weak. Mouth becomes dry, body starts trembling. We're having goosebumps. You can feel that the hair are standing, and this is a stress response of the body. Arjuna is feeling this because he's getting distressed by seeing his own relatives. He's getting an attachment, and he's now, again, he's clearly describing his condition of stress without any pride, with a lot of simplicity. The name Arjuna itself means Rujutvat iti Arjuna. He's a very simpleton person. He does not have a lot of pride, though he's a great warrior. He's one of the best warriors on the earth. But even then, he has a lot of humility. He has a lot of simplicity. He is describing his condition. He's not thinking that what will Krishna feel that I am such a great warrior, but still I am having this stress response. He's describing again, and he's continuing to say that Gandivam sransate hastat. My bow, my Gandiva is slipping from my hands. I'm not able to hold it also. I'm getting so trembling and becoming weak. Twak cha paridayate. My skin is burning a lot. This is because of the stress response. Na shaknomi avasthatum. I'm not even able to stand. I'm feeling so weak. I just want to stand, lie down or sit down. It says, Chame mamna mana pramati eva. My mind is going in whirls. I'm getting a lot of giddiness. जैसे हम कहते हैं कि मेरे को चक्कर आ रहा है. I cannot think what is the right thing. So Arjuna is getting this condition which an ordinary person would get in a stress response, in a sad situation, in a state of grief, in a state of sorrow. What happens to us wherever there is some kind of such a situation in our life, and our near and dearer passes away in front of us? What is the kind of condition that we have, that Arjuna facing with the same situation at the moment? And Arjuna now maintains his composure and is still continuing to talk, and he talks about the opposite result of the war. He had come here to fight this war, which was a Dharma Yuddha. He knew that the Kauravas had done injustice to them, and they had to fight this war. They had done a lot of disrespect to Draupadi, where she was shameful act was done in the main courtroom, and they were tried to kill. And the Pandavas, the Kauravas had tried a lot, given them a lot of pain, miseries, punishment, and which they did not probably, which probably they were not deserving of. And that's why Arjuna here is now talking of the opposite result of war. He says, Nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava na cha shreyo nu pashyami hatva swajanam mahave. He says, oh Keshava. Keshava is another name of Krishna. the one who takes away klesha, harati iti keshava, who takes away all the klesha. Klesha means there are 5 types of klesha in our shastras. Basically, they means all our pain, miseries, ignorance, and who takes away this harati iti harihi. Hari also means the name of the Lord. When harati, because he takes away all the papa and all this klesha he takes away. Nimittani cha pashyami, viparitani. I'm seeing all the opposite kind of the omens. I'm not seeing the right view of and all these bad omen is because he says, I don't see any benefit. Na anupashyami shreyaha. There is no benefit. Hatva swajanam ahave. In killing my own relatives in this war, I'm seeing that there is no point doing this war. Arjuna is now starting to think that he should probably not fight this war, though he came to fight this war, but after getting attachment to his own near and dear ones, he is now thinking that there is no point in going for war. He is describing his condition that he is developing this dispassion, vairagya. In the next 2 shlokas, he says, Nakangshe vijayam Krishna, nacha rajyam sukhani cha, kim no rajyena govinda, kim bhogair jivitena va. He says, O Krishna, Nakangshe vijayam. I don't want victory. I came here to win this war, but now seeing this and getting attached to my relatives, I don't want to kill them. I don't want to become successful. I don't want to become victorious. Arjuna is telling Krishna, Na rajyam na sukhani. Neither I want kingdom, nor I want any happiness. He says, I don't want anything. This is a kind of a dispassion or a vairagya which has come. What will I do with this kingdom? He says, Hey Govinda, Kim na rajyena. Govinda is also name of Krishna. What will I do with this kingdom? Kim va bhogai jivitena va. And what all these pleasures, this kingdom, all this bhoga, aishwarya, and all this life, jivite, I don't want to live also. I don't want these pleasures. He says that I don't want to, fight this war. And this is a kind of a vairagya that happens in an emotional storm, in a moha. And this is not the true vairagya. The word vairagya does not stand for this kind of vairagya. Actually, the word vairagya in our scripture stands for a kind of a detachment with understanding. It is not by force, it is by understanding that this world or these things will not be able to give me what is my ultimate goal in life. And with that understanding, we get away from the worldly or the material pleasures. And that kind of a vairagya only comes, according to our Shastra, it comes only from Viveka. Viveka means that discriminative intellect which helps us to decide what is good for me, what is not good for me, which helps me to decide what is my goal in life and how can I attain this goal. This kind of Viveka, only when leads to Vairagya, that is the true Vairagya. What here Arjuna develops is something what we in our colloquial terms called as a Smashana Vairagya. It's a very temporary Vairagya when we go to a crematorium to burn some of our near and dear ones in the last time of their life. And that is a time when we develop this kind of a Smashana Vairagya. It's a very temporary Vairagya from the worldly things. That is what Arjuna, because he's engulfed with this emotional storm, because of the attachments, mamata, raga, dvesha, and moha. And that's why he's having this kind of a dispassion. And with this kind of a vairagya, what he develops, moha, his vision is changed. He's now seeing from a different lens. He's not seeing the right thing. He's seeing something differently. And what he's seeing, he's describing, Yesha marthe kangshitam no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha ta imeva sthita yuddhe pranan styaktva dhanani cha. It says, for whom we have renounced these desires for kingdom, pleasure, happiness, all this, and also the life and the wealth, all this that we have renounced, they are all standing here for our battle in front of us. The same people, what is the point in fighting this battle? And Arjuna is ranting and giving a lot of justifications for not fighting the war. Krishna is a very good listener, does not speak a real word literally, not even a single word he is speaking. He's just listening patiently, calmly. Krishna himself is full of knowledge, he's Sarvagna, but still he is allowing Arjuna to rant out whatever is there in his mind. And I think this teaches us a lesson that when a person is upset, he's trying to speak, I think we have to learn to become a good listener. And these are all the lessons that we learn from Geeta ji. And then Arjuna is now describing his relatives and his desires not to kill his relatives, he's describing his relatives. Acharya pitara putras tathaiva cha pitamahaha matula shvashura pautra shala sambandhinas tatha. He's describing, he sees his teachers, cousins, sons, fatherly figures, maternal uncles, his father-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-law, all his relatives. And with this, his entire vision is changed. He does not know what is the right thing to do. He does not know what is dharma for him. And that's why he gets confused. And still he continues to give his justifications. So Arjun continues giving his reasons for not fighting the war and says, even though I get killed, I don't want to fight this war. Etanna hantumichhami gnatopi madhusudana api trailokya rajyasya heto kimnu mahi krute. Says, oh Madhusudana. Madhusudana is the name of Krishna, who is the killer of Madhu. Madhu was a demon, and also Madhu means sweet, and the one which is so success sweet, the maximum sweet to us is our ego, our pride, and killer of our ego and our pride is the Lord. That's why he is also called Madhusudana. Etanna hantum ichhami. I don't desire to kill all these, my relatives, my opponent party. Gnataha api. Even though I get killed, I don't want to kill them, he says. And this is something which is completely against the Kshatriya Dharma. He is a brave warrior, but he's talking like a coward here. He says, even if I get the kingdom of all the three worlds, Trailokya Rajya, even then I don't want to kill them. Kimna Mahikrute, even then I don't want to fight with them. Even if I get all the pleasures of this world, not just this world, but all the three worlds, heaven also, but I don't want to still fight them. I don't want to kill them. And Arjun's mind is definitely, it is very clearly seen, it is clouded, it does not see clearly. He says, Nihatya tratra rashtrana kapriti sya janardana papa meva shraye dasman hatvaita natatayinaha. He says, oh Janardana. Janardana is another name of Krishna. Jana Ardana, killer of all. At the Pralaya Kala, all the people are destroyed, the entire world, the entire existence is destroyed. But it is not that they are killed or destroyed. Meaning in our Shastra, our scriptures is that, at Pralaya Kala, everything gets dissolved. The entire Srushti, Jagata, everything which is dissolved and gets merged into Brahma, or that one Sat Tattva. And at the time of the creation, everything becomes manifest. So whatever is manifest becomes unmanifest. It is not that it is killed or destroyed. That is what is the real meaning of. So Nihatya Dhatra Rashtra. By killing the sons of Dhritarashtra, he says, what happiness will be achieved? Bhagavan say, Arjuna is telling, by killing this Atatayina. Atatayina are the wrongdoers. Arjuna is saying, Papam evam ashrayat. We will get only sin. So he's talking very different. On one side, he says, these are wrongdoers, they are atatayina. There are 6 types of atatayinas described in our scriptures. Those who give pain, misery, suffering to other people by either cheating them, kidnapping their wife or their children, burning their house, and all these are the types of atatayinas. And when we punish them, it is not a sin. But Arjuna is saying here that we will only get sin if we punish these wrongdoers. Tasman narha vayam hantum dhatra rashtran svabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. Tasmat, he says, therefore, these sons of Dhritarashtra who are our own relatives, svabandhavan, we should not kill them. He comes to a conclusion. He tells Krishna that they are our own relatives. How can we kill them? We should not fight this war. Oh Madhava, all the salutations to the Lord. He says, by killing these relatives, how can we be happy? Hatva, swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina hasyam. How can we be happy? We can never be happy. And that's why we should not kill them. We should not fight this war. He's trying to convince Krishna that war is not the right option here. Arjuna says war is not advisable for even saving his family. He's now giving a lot of different types of reasons for not fighting the war. For kulakshaya, for the destruction of the family. He says, Yadhyapyetena pashyanti lobhopahata chetasaha kulakshaya krutam dosham mitradrohe chapatakam. He says these Kauravas, their mind is filled with lobha. Lobha is greed. They want more and more. They want more kingdom. They have the Hastinapur, but even now they want Indraprastha, and that's why They are filled with greed for this kingdom. But he thinks that I am not a greedy person. Why should I fight this war? That is what he's trying to say. He says, why can't we see the wrong of the destruction of this family? Kulakshaya, Krutam Dosham, this wrong, this dosha of Kulakshaya, that the family will be destroyed. And Mitra Droha, that is another dosh he's describing, that betraying our own friends by killing them. And these are two big dosha. He says, according to Arjuna, that this is also the reason why we should not fight this war. Katham nagneyamasmabihi papadasman nivartitum kulakshaya krutam dosham prapashyadbhir janardana. Again he's saying, oh Janardana, we know there is a sin in going to the war. Then why should we not come back from the war? Nivartitum, we should return from this war. We should stop the war. Now that we know that it is papa, it is sinful to go for this war because of all this dosha, kulakshaya dosha that I have described. And this is a big blame. Entire family will get destroyed. I can see that. Kauravas probably are unable to see that this is a big dosha, this is a big blame which will come on me, and I will be going to sin, I will be going to hell. This will be the problems that will happen to me. Arjuna is trying to rent out all the justifications for not fighting this war. He says, describes all the side effects, the dosha of kula nasha. Says, kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krutsnam na dharmo bhi bhavatyuta. The next 4 shlokas is going to describe all these dosha of kula nasha, kulakshaya, so destruction of the family, all the kula dharma which are sanatana. Sanatana means the perennial lineage which goes on in the family will also get destroyed. In our ancient times, the Vedic times, the dharma was the adhara, the stambha, the pillar of all the righteous things to do, the family. And this used to go on in the families. The right thing to do will be taught by the elders to the children. The right sanskaras will be given. And this was the part of the kula dharma. So in this kula, in this clan or this family, it will go on. And this was sanatana. It will go on as perennially. It will eternally go on this kind of a lineage. And Arjuna is telling here with that when the family will get destroyed, this kula dharma, this lineage of passing on the sanskaras, the good impressions, the good moral values, the ethical values, the dharma, everything will be destroyed. Dharme nashte kulam kratsnam. When dharma is destroyed, he says adharma abhibhavati utaha. He says adharma will rise. When the dharma will be destroyed, adharma will rise. And dharma of the family inspires the people to follow their dharma. Basically, this dharma would go on in the family. And this is what is the justification of Arjuna. He says, Adharma bhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyaha strishu dustashu kaun varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. Again, now he's saying, oh Krishna, when the adharmas will rise, all the kulastriya, the females of this kula or this clan or this family will become pradushyanti. Pradushyanti means they will be polluted, they will become immoral because there is no one to protect them. And that's why strisu dushtasu jayate varna sankara. He says when the females will be immoral, they will not have any protection. And then a varna sankara, a culturally a mixed race will be created where there will be intercaste marriage and a lot of confusion will create and there will be lots of problems. This varna sankara will be created. Sankaro narakaya iva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham nukta pindo dada kriyaha. He says when the mixed race, kula sankara, mixed race is created, the dharma will not be protected because the children will not know what dharma to follow because they are mixed race, the father is from another race, the mother is from another race. What kind of impressions they will give to the children? And that's why this will lead to a lot of adharma, will lead to sins, a lot of naraka gati will be there. He says, patanti pitaraha yesham. Ancestors, our pitara, our ancestors will also not get peace because lupta pinda kriyaha. All these pinda kriya, all the rituals of the post-death rituals that we do, which are called the ancestors rituals, this will not be done, and that's why the ancestors will also not rest in peace. So Arjuna is giving a lot of reasons why, when the kulakshaya nasha, kula dharma nasha, adharma will increase, then the kula striya will become pradushyanti, and with this varna sankara, a mixed race will be created, and then the ancestors will also not get peace. And all this also shows that Arjuna has a lot of faith in our scriptures, in our dharma, because all this has been described in our dharma, that this is our dharma, to do these rituals for our ancestors, all this, how to protect the dharma in the family. All this has been given in the scripture. So obviously it means that Arjuna has a lot of faith. He is a person who is a dharmi, who is following the dharma, because dharmo rakshita dharmaha. It is said that one who follows the dharma, dharma protects these kind of people. That is what our scriptures tell us, that if we protect the dharma, dharma will protect us. That is what our scriptures tell us. दोषैरैतैः कुलघ्नानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. He says, because of all these dosha, wrongdoings, what will happen? Varna Sankara, all these family destruction, Kulagnanam, Varna Sankara, the mixed race, all these sins, the family dharma, the Kula dharma, and the Jati dharma, the dharma of our caste, all these which are Shashwata, which are perennial, will be Utsyadhyante, which will be uprooted from its roots. It will not remain there. All this dharma will be destroyed. And Arjuna is again justifying, giving all possible reasons. He says, Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavatityat nushushuma. He says, oh Janardana, when the family dharma, kula dharma is destroyed, narake aniyatam vaso, person goes to manushyanam narake aniyatam vasaha, means they go to hell and then they stay there for a very long period of time. Aniyatam, we don't know how long they have to stay in the hell, and this is what will happen to me and all of us. That's why it is not really required to fight this war. He says, Bhavati iti anushushuma, means this is what I have heard. I'm not sure, I've not read in any scriptures like this, but I have read somewhere, I have listened, I've heard about this from somebody, some people, that if the family dharma, the kula dharma is destroyed, persons have to go into hell and they have to stay there for a very long period of time. And that's why also we should not fight this war. Then he says, Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukhalobhena hantum swajana mudyataha. He says, Aho bata, alas, it is so sad. He says that we are driven into committing this great sin. He says, Mahat Papa, it is such a great sin, and we are all committed into fighting this war which is sinful. Now he's seeing the war as sinful, not as a dharma but as a adharma. He says, for the rajya and sukha lobha, for the greed of our kingdom and happiness, for our material pleasures, we are ready to fight this war and kill our near and dear ones. He says we have become ready to kill this. So he is getting a lot of, in his feeling, wow, it is not worth it. Alas, it is so sad. It should not be done. There's all the justification that is giving to Krishna that we should not fight. And finally, Arjuna concludes saying that it is better Duryodhana kills him rather than he goes to war with all these Kauravas. Yadi mama pratikaram shastram shastrapanayah dhatra rashtrarane hanyum stanme shemataram bhavet. He says, even if I don't resist with all my weapons because I don't want to fight with war, but now that the war has started, these sons of Dhritarashtra, the Kauravas, will wield their weapons and they will kill me in this battle. And he says that will be Kshemataram Bhavet, that will be beneficial for me, because he thinks that fighting this war is probably not the right thing for him to do. And that is all because of all this attachment that he has developed again with his own near and dear ones. He has forgotten what is the real dharma for him, and that is what happens. And then finally the last shloka of this Adhyaya, Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktvarjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishata Visrujya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. Arjuna decides against the war and he sits in the backside of the chariot with despair. So Sanjay is speaking, is relaying this to Dhritarashtra and is telling him that what is happening on the battlefield. He says, Eva Muktva Sankhya. Having said this in the battlefield, all this that Arjuna has given all the justifications to Krishna, and Krishna has been silently listening to all these justifications or excuses that Arjuna is giving for not fighting the war. Arjuna finally, having said that maybe he gets killed, I don't want to fight this war, he now Rathopasthe. Upastha means the backside. He goes to the backside of the chariot, Upavishata, and sits down, He does not run away from that battlefield. He does not go away, but he sits down there. He's completely confused. Visrujya Sasharam Chapam. He puts down his bow and arrow, signaling that now he does not want to fight this war and he has given up. Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. His mind is filled with a lot of sorrow, sadness, despair, complete confusion. He doesn't know what to do. He's in a Vishada, and that's why this Adhyaya is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, and that is the end of the Adhyaya. So this sets the stage for the message of the Lord to come. And a very nice question was asked by one of our group members after the first talk, and he asked that Arjuna, when he developed Vishada, he had Lord Krishna in front of him. Now, when we develop Vishada, what should we do as mortals when we have this kind of a despair in our life? What about us? Where should we go? And Arjuna, what he did was that he sat down, he became confused. He knows that the Lord Shree Krishna, of course, he doesn't know that he's the Lord because he's always related with him as a friend. So he's not seen the Ishwaratva of Lord Shree Krishna. But he knows that Krishna is a great person at least, and he will show him some way. That faith he has already, and that's why he's sitting there on the backside of the chariot. He's not running away or leaving the battlefield. So for what us? So our Guruji tells us that there are 4 kinds of Kropa, and everything happens to us by some kind of a grace. And this grace, the first grace is of the Lord. Ishvara Kropa is the first great grace with which we will find a solution. That kind of a faith we should always have. Though we don't have Sakshat Krishna in front of us as Arjuna has, but Bhagavad Gita and our scriptures tell us that Ishwar is in Sarva Rupa, Sarva Nama, Sarvatra, Sarvada, and Sarva Vastu is omnipresent. It is all pervading. It's not just sitting in the heaven or sitting in the temple. He is everywhere. And in several parts of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says that I am sitting inside you. Ishwara Sarva Bhutanam Tishtate Arjuna Tishtati. Hridaya Arjuna Tishtati in 18th Adhyaya, Bhagavan says this. So he's sitting inside us. We have our own conscious, and that is where we can go and find out the solution to our problems, our sadness. We can do some soul searching when we are quiet. We are able to understand, and then we will find the right solution. But our scriptures tell us that this voice of the conscience, this inner voice that we call, is helpful only to the people who follow the marg of dharma. For a person who has been on a marg, on the path of adharma, always doing the wrong things or the vices, for them the voice of the conscience is always already suppressed, and they will not hear the right voice. So that is the first way. Ishvara Kropa, try to connect with the Lord. The devotees will worship the Lord, will do prarthana, puja to the Lord and find the right solution. The karmi, a purusha or a person who is attached to karma, will try to do karma yoga, as Bhagavan has already will be describing in the 2nd and the 3rd Adhyaya about karma yoga, how we can do our karmas with the Ishvara Arpana Bhava as we surrender all our actions to the Lord. What is that bhavana? Whereas people who are the knowledge or the thinkers type or the logical type of the people will try to find out the solution by logically thinking and coming to a solution. The second Kropa is the scriptures. Obviously, the scriptures will show us the right and all the solutions, not just the temporary solutions, but even the permanent solutions to all our problems. Pain, miseries, and sufferings is given in the scriptures. We have to dive deep into the scriptures to understand the meaning of what is there, the hidden treasure that is there, on which we are sitting for so many generations, and because of which our race has survived so far. So this is the Shastra Kropa. We may argue that, I don't know Sanskrit, how can we understand the scriptures? That is right. But then for that, we need a help of a guru in our life, a guru who will actually not just translate the message of our scriptures, but also give us the understanding, the deep understanding, the real understanding of all these padas or all these words that are given in our scriptures. So guru is a very essential part who can dispel our darkness, our ignorance, and show us the light of knowledge. And beyond all this, our own grace on ourselves, which is called Atma Kropa. This is also very important. We have to try and find out the solution for ourselves. We have to pursue on this path. We have to look for a guru, go to the scriptures, look for the grace of the God, our own purushartha, our own perseverance, our own efforts, because we have been given this free will to act as a human being. We have to find this in Bhagavan in the 6th Adhyaya, the Atma Sanyama Yoga. He describes this. What is this Atma Krupa? He says, Uddharet Atman Atmanam, Atmanam Avasadayet, Atmanyo Atmane. Atma, let us elevate our own self by our own self, make our own self our biggest friend, not our enemy. And how can we make this? Geetaji will show us the way, how we can improve our Atma Krupa, how we can get this Guru Krupa. So this is the way we can actually come out of despair in our life, from all our sorrow, sadness, by the right kind of understanding that our Shastra, our Vedanta, our Vedas, of which the Bhagavad Gita is the Sara, the Tatparya, the summary, the crux of all these Shastras, and that's why it is considered to be a complete Grantha. And in the next Adhyaya, second Adhyaya, we will see how Bhagavana Krishna is trying to dispel this moha, this shoka, this ignorance, ajnana of Arjuna, which by giving him the message of the Lord, he gives him not just the temporary solution based on our beliefs, but the first thing that Bhagavan Krishna does is show him the final goal where we have to reach. What is that final goal? It is the Atma Jnana, that knowledge of our own self, knowledge of the truth behind this existence. And this, once we understand this knowledge, then everything becomes immaterial. Then we don't have this kind of a shoka, dukkha, moha. All this ajnana goes away with this Atma Jnana. And that is the only way for how we can achieve this moksha, or liberation from all our pain, our limitations, our afflictions, our identifications to this body-mind complex. So with this, we come to the end of the first Adhyaya, and it is customary to speak about the Adhyaya Pushpika at the end of every Adhyaya. Om Tat Saditi Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shree Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathamodhyaya. And it is also customary to speak this 66th shloka of the 18th Adhyaya, which is the end of the final message of the Lord. At the end of every Adhyaya, it is customary to speak this. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tva sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parah Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.